Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, where we talk about video games. I'm Max, and with me is someone who is never not prepared, my co-host, Sema. Hello there, Sema.
Oh, I think I know what's coming. You gave it away. That was a telegraph.
Yes.
We'll find out later.
Always don't never not be prepared. That is one of my mottos.
It's one of I am always prepared. Either that or I'm just worried about not being prepared.
Yes. Well, we are definitely prepared. We're definitely going to talk about getting prepared and because we both tried out the pre-patch a little bit. What I think I'll go ahead and say it. I think Blizzard does a best-in-class job of doing pre-patch and using it to a good advantage to introduce coming expansion content. I know there's a few different ways to do it, and we'll talk about that too, but I think it is a really interesting way to go about introducing some of the things that you need players to be ready for early in some good ways. Now, there's other things that we'll talk about in this particular pre-patch like story that we're very confused about, and everyone else can help us figure out what the hell is going on. That too. But first, let's talk about some news.
Good news, everyone!
Yeah, so first up in the news, and the only reason I'm sort of adding this in here, we wouldn't normally talk about meta news about news, but Game Informer shut down. I had heard that it shut down. I didn't pay that much attention because things like this come and go. But when I prepare for the podcast, I've got a set of bookmarks in a folder that has 7 different game news sites, and I right-click on it and say, open tab set in a new window. So then I can flip through them all and I can see what the news is. And I do that a couple times a week when I'm keeping up on game news. Tab number 2 was Game Informer. I didn't even realize it. So that came up. I clicked over to tab number 2 and this page came up and I remembered the headlines about it shutting down. And it's sad news. It's sad news when anything like this happens.
After 33 years. That's a long time.
33 years, and they were owned by GameStop. I didn't realize they were owned by GameStop, so I'm not surprised that they are shutting down. It's neither core to what GameStop does anymore these days, and
they're also famously floundering.
Yes. Yeah, GameStop is in a weird spot in that they've been propped up by market shenanigans, but their business model is still a failing business model. Physical game media isn't a thing anymore. So, and they don't own any of the online marketplaces. So they are in a strange spot. But yeah, so we'll see if we get any of that content. What did I see that they had like 300 issues of the game, 300 plus issues of the game that were put out, which I did think was pretty amazing. 300 and something issues over 33 years. And then I looked at our podcast number 522 today. And in
fairness, I think maybe they put a little more work into it.
What? What are you talking about?
What?
Hey, we put dozens of minutes of work into this podcast weekly.
Dozens. That's right.
This also caught my eye. Another news item. There is, starting yesterday, because it just started yesterday, Diablo Season 5 started. It's going to be a relatively short season because it's going to end at an exciting moment when the expansion comes out in October. So it'll be about a 2-month season. I'm definitely interested in Vessel of Hatred. That's the expansion that's going to come out in October. I'm definitely going to play that because I want to see the continuation of the story. That's one of the parts of Diablo 4 that I really enjoyed. I think they did a really good job with it.
You mean the story was a part you really enjoyed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Well, like playing through it. I mean, it's still all the action parts of it. It's a very action-oriented story. But finding, there was a couple characters that they introduced and you follow them around and then you do all the action parts and you blow things up. It's like I didn't care about the PvP and I didn't care about just like the gear grind. I wanted to play sort of like the campaign-ish part of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I did. I definitely like that with the ARPG elements wrapped around it. But it sort of definitely left on a cliffhanger. You don't know what's going to happen next. And now the trailer is pretty horrible in a horror way. I mean, it's supposed to be horror, and it is. But we left off our heroine as she is trying to deal with the shard of whatever that has one of the main demons' souls in it, and we're going to find out what happens there. And I think she is going to become the vessel of hatred, unfortunately. I need to deal with that. She's either holding the vessel of hatred or she is the vessel of hatred. We'll find out. But the seasons have been getting pretty good, and I think the satisfaction of the community with the seasons has taken Diablo 4 out of some of the review bomb state that it was in at launch for bad reasons. It wasn't the perfect Diablo release that everybody looked back on with rose-colored glasses. Diablo 3 was the best ever. Don't you remember when Diablo 3 launched when you hated it? But yeah, so I haven't played any of the seasons yet. But when I got the whatever edition that I got of Diablo 4, it came with a token for whatever the sort of like the subscriber track is for the season, the battle pass or whatever it is. I get one of those. I never used that credit, so I could use it on this season, and I'm kind of debating on it. I think there's too many other things coming in the next couple of weeks where I probably won't have a lot of time to do it. But I may because every time I see this Diablo stuff, I've got the urge to go back to it. It's probably better for me to wait, though.
So you haven't played any of the seasons,
No,
but the game ended on a cliffhanger, and this season is going to address that cliffhanger?
the
And none of the other
expansion
seasons
does.
do?
So they didn't do anything
Oh,
about
I
the
see.
story
Okay.
in any of the
Okay.
seasons.
All right, that makes more sense to
Yeah.
me.
So the seasons were more just like start a new character. They added they
Yeah,
changed some of the
okay.
mechanics, added new gear grind and prizes and did battle pass kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Diablo and our playtime. Also, keeping an eye on the big game release that I am looking forward to at the end of the month, and I still see such mixed media coming out about this. Plenty of the game news sites, a couple of them have like a whole, main header on their site tracking news and reviews and previews for Star Wars Outlaws. However, if you go on YouTube or you look at like some of the major streamers, everybody is already saying it either looks fine and they're fine with it, or it looks terrible and it's going to be a trash game. And I don't know how anybody can really make any of those conclusions just yet. And anybody who's played it, the people who've played it and reviewed it have kind of said, yeah, it's pretty good. It's an Ubisoft game, and it's doing a pretty good job of what it's trying to do. The people that haven't played it and just looked at the trailer, a lot of those are saying, oh, this looks like trash. So we'll see where that's going to go. I think it's going to be another sort of interesting case study in the way online sentiment and reviews are going to follow whatever the hot take is of the moment, regardless of whether or not the game deserves it. Yeah, I just think it's primed to be another one of those, and it could go either way. It could get get hyped up and get a lot of good reviews because people's favorite streamer dude on the web said it's good, or it could get review bombed because people's favorite streamer dude said it's bad. Again, completely independent of what it's like to play the game. For some reason, I think it's just going to be another one of those opportunities for clickbait.
Yep.
The only other 3 releases, there's a long list of releases, and Game Rant does a pretty good job on their site of curating a list of what's coming out soon. So they've got their list of all the things coming out in August, and they do a pretty good job. They're listing like 100 things coming out in August. And there's probably more than that. There's probably at least 1,000 things coming out on Steam alone in August. But they do a good cut of a good cross section of the games coming out that are sort of floating to the top. Nothing too compelling, interesting until Star Wars Outlaws at the end of the month. That's sort of like the big AAA thing that's coming out within the month of October. But 2 others that caught my eye are the Cult of the Lamb expansion That's definitely coming out next week. So that will be a fun little thing if we're Cult of the Lamb fans. I never got into it's been on my list a ton. I never ended up playing it though, which is probably a miss because for everything it looks like, it does look like a fun little sort of like uh, society little simulator, little town simulator with a bunch of fun little mechanics wrapped around it and cute
Yeah.
animation. But they're continuing to expand on that, and they've got the Unholy Alliance, and they have added a goat that the lamb gets to uh, consort with.
Eviscerate. Oh. Oh, different thing.
I think it's like unholy consorting on evil plans. Leave me to my evil bidding. We shall bid evilly together. And then the second one that's on my watch list, just because it's a game that we have a lot of people that play, and I have played a ton in the past. Although this wasn't really on my radar, but maybe I should jump in and check it out. Guild Wars 2 has got an expansion coming out later this month in about 2 weeks, and it's called Janthier Wilds. Guild Wars 2 is a great game. Great MMO. And you found something interesting that Guild Wars 2 is doing. Why don't you describe that, Sema?
Oh, just a new release of some of their soundtrack. It caught my eye because it's coming out on vinyl, which I thought was an interesting choice.
Yeah. It's pressed on 2 gold vinyl discs, LPs. And I know this is like a thing. And Forster in the chat room was saying V Rising pressed their soundtrack onto a vinyl LP as well. I read a statistic earlier in the year that something like 50% of consumers, purchasers, buyers of vinyl records don't even have a record player. But it's like a collector thing to do. And just looking at these vinyl records in this packaging does make me want to get it. Like I would never, I'm not a consumer of soundtracks even very much. I never really cared for music anyway. But this is
He
cool.
says that, but he knows every word to like 1,000 songs. So
Do I? I was going off the
I get
hallelujah.
you made me realize too when you said even I feel like getting this. There is that. Maybe it's not so much the people buying vinyl that don't have LPs as it taps into the people who click buy things that they end up never using in general.
It's a very collectory. It's a very tactile. Say you're a big Guild Wars fan and a Guild Wars player. There's not a lot of like Guild Wars merch that you can buy, and this is like a grown-up tactile cool thing that you could put on a shelf and talk about and put on your coffee table when you have a cocktail party and describe to your guests, which I don't do either, but yeah, I could see it. I could see it. So I see the allure.
And I guess you could too also make the argument that this is your only chance to hear something produced in an analog way because you're playing a game, it's always going to be digital.
True.
So maybe you're thinking, I personally don't believe that I would hear the difference.
Well, they probably
maybe
took a digital track and then pressed it to LP. I doubt
man.
they put an orchestra
I know
together.
they live recorded an orchestra.
That would be for an audio file. That would be worth extra. So let's say, do they say that here? I don't think they say that. With that,
So I watched
that'd be interesting to find out.
several years ago. I watched this show called The Human Target, which I've mentioned a few times before. I really loved the first season of it. But one thing they did in that show is the soundtrack absolutely was a live orchestra.
That's cool.
I know, it was very cool. But that was their big claim to fame. I'm not making it up.
Yeah. Here's the V Rising, and their vinyl was red vinyl, like a blood red vinyl discs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that does
looks
it looks amazing, doesn't it?
does look pretty cool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now I want to start collecting vinyl records.
The
All right.
problem is, though, a turntable just takes up
You
space
don't get
and
the turntable. You don't play them. You just collect the records. You're not understanding, Sema.
You're right.
You d you don't you do this isn't yeah. You just have the thing, and
It isn't
you
about actually
covet
listening.
you covet the thing that you have, and you put it on a shelf. You probably don't even unwrap it. Well, you would want to because they're just so
Yeah.
pretty, the pressed
Actually,
vinyl.
that's a great point because, how many people do have collectibles that are still in the package?
I never took until what, like last year, until the 10-year anniversary, I never took Malgus out of his packaging from my Star Wars: The Old Republic collectibles.
Yeah, if
Took
you
me 10
wanted to
years to do that.
actually play this LP, you would have to buy 2.
That's right. One to keep in its original packaging, and the second to display and touch and have the tactile experience with. All right. That's it for the news. As always, thanks to all of you out there for following and listening. If you need any of the links to anything, especially to our upcoming store where we will have vinyl LPs of our episodes, you can find all those links on newoverlords.com. Special thanks to everyone that hangs out with us live here on Twitch or in our Discord, where we talk about fun stuff pretty much all day, every day. Also, don't forget, if you're looking for a big family-friendly gaming community, check out Alea Jagd Est. That's the guild that we play in for most of our games, like Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars: The Old Republic. AIE-guild.org for the AIE Discord, where you can connect to us there. And now we've got some fun things to talk about.
You are not prepared.
War Within. Are you prepared, Sema? I feel like you're getting prepared.
I am
You're
getting prepared.
you're probably quite a bit more prepared than I am. But I took the first couple baby steps in the past couple days to start getting prepared myself.
I'm very prepared. I have so many level 70 tunes in World of Warcraft right now.
Do you?
And I just decided today, someone said, "Well, you have a warrior, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but she's really low level." And I was looking at her, and she's level 48. I'm like, "That's 22 levels away from max. That's so I'm gonna level her."
I have one level 70, my hunter that I leveled up for when I played through. So I played through the beginning at least of, and the story at launch of every expansion. I haven't done a lot more than that for the past 2 expansions. I played a fair amount of Shadowlands. I didn't play very much. I played the initial launch story of Dragonflight, got my dragon, got all that stuff. Not much more than that. And as you can see, with each successive expansion, my alts have lagged behind. Because I think you go back to Legion, and I probably had 8 max level alts. And then they started dropping off from there. But yeah, I got my level 70 hunter that I logged into. And I noticed a whole bunch of new things going on. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what a pre-patch is for people that don't know what a pre-patch is. And different games do this in different ways. But when I started thinking about it and what a pre-patch is and what it does for WoW in particular, I found it fascinating, and I did decide relatively quickly that Blizzard uses this to great advantage, and they do a really good job with this. And I'm surprised that more games haven't more formally picked up the Blizzard approach to, here's a content update, here's an expansion update, and at some period before that, we're going to have a pre-patch which introduces a few things to get players ready. Because it also smooths out the launch of the expansion in some interesting ways. So let's talk about that. Let's introduce that and define that. Pre-patch. So what, my best content for understanding what a pre-patch was, summarizing what a pre-patch was ChatGPT. ChatGPT did a really good job of summarizing it. So what ChatGPT told me was, pre-patch updates are crucial for maintaining player engagement, preparing the game for new content, and ensuring a smooth transition when the new content is officially released. Common elements in pre-patch updates include And I think that this is absolutely right. This is a good summary. Balance changes. So this is what I'm going to be asking you about here shortly, Sema, because this is kind of what they're doing here with War Within. Balance changes or class changes, new features, stuff like quality of life improvements if there's things that are going to materially change within the guild, bug fixes that they might need to get in there before the new content comes out. And
Or just surface them.
yeah, and story and lore setup, and then what you added onto this, which wasn't even one that ChatGPT picked up, because Sema's smarter than the AI. She's a more advanced form of AI. The catch up for alts, that's a good point, and I am interested. I mean, do you think that you're going to be leveling up even more? Did you actually level up alts, or were those alts already ready to go, or did pre-patch? Yeah, tell me about your alt situation.
So because leveling was so fast in Remix, and because I had a bunch of level like 60s that I had no desire to go back and quest on, I did sort of like replacement characters for them.
Okay.
And I did them in Remix.
Oh, right. Yeah,
However, with this pre-patch event, leveling is like almost Remix fast, if not actually Remix fast. So now I'm thinking going back to characters that I didn't replace, and maybe I'll level them too, because it does kind of bug me that they're not at max level. So we'll see. And also the thing about doing it in pre-patch and Remix both is all your characters benefit, right? Because you gain more of the currency and you can buy more of the stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a no-brainer.
I really like the idea of pre-patch to get people that have been away from the game a little bit in any game,
And
to
that's
be
me.
prepared, and definitely me as well. I mean, I kind of haven't played WoW in a year. Now, other games, the way they do this kind of patch is they'll do it on an off cycle. So say they're going to do like a major update once a year. At the 6-month update, that's when they might do like balance changes and class changes and feature updates and quality of life updates. I think doing it as a prelude to the expansion is a better move. You could still do some of those other things. You're still going to want like off-cycle content, but a specific pre-patch, like Star Wars The Old Republic doesn't do the pre-patches anymore. They have kind of in the past, but they don't right now. Like when we get the update that's going to have like story and content in the fall, it's not going to have like a pre-patch that's going to come out before that and like prepare anyone. But they have done that in the past, and other games like Final Fantasy definitely does. They have sort of like, it's more of like a story interlude for them because they're so story driven. They almost have like a story chapter, which provides a palette cleanser from the previous story and a little bit of a story setup for the next story. And then there are some, sort of changes that go on as well. But this, I do appreciate the way WoW does it, because I am getting ready for the new content that's going to come out. And I do need this opportunity to bother to get back in and set up my characters, because I would hate for the expansion to drop and for me to day one get in there and do what I did with this, which is look at my inventory, look at my quest list and go, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Now you and I have been batting that back and forth about what do you do about that? And like gear, declaring bankruptcy with your gear is fine to do these days with WoW, especially.
Yeah. I feel like, I feel like they're pretty good about like things you really don't need to keep things. Like your gear update token from 2 Xbox ago really isn't going to buy you anything you want.
Right. The things that I did have to figure out relatively quick was it reset my spec, it reset my talents. But there was a feature added. So tell me about the feature, because this is useful too. And I didn't catch it until after you told me about it. I went to Icy Veins and said, can I even be a Beastmaster Hunter, or is it garbage these days? Now, you can't believe anything. It seems like Blizzard's doing a pretty good job of making all specs viable these days. So Beastmaster Hunter is still fine. But then I picked picked a spec from Icy Veins, and like, it's a huge screen. There was like 100 things on that screen, and I was elected to lead, not to read. So so I wasn't gonna read all that stuff, but tell me about the default spec stuff. I didn't even know that that
Oh,
was a thing.
when I first logged in, I just wanted to play. So
Yeah.
um, basically, on the talent tree, there is an option down below where you can choose. They call it the starter build, but I think it's like a default build, and maybe a build that works fine for leveling, and probably works fine for like regular dungeons and stuff. But basically, you just click on that and it fills out your trees.
And it's a
And
combo box in the lower left, right?
yeah, and
Yeah, I
if
didn't
you're
see that.
as you level, it tells you which ones to get next.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm level 70. I'm capped on this character, so that
Right,
that
right,
part isn't
right.
as useful.
But I found this that's how it is in Remix. And I don't know how long it's been this way in retail, maybe a long time, but it's a useful feature. And I know that you know, the game guilty machine in your head makes you think, but I want the best and not the starter one. But just do it because you can change it and there's no penalty for changing your spec and you can change it anytime. And when you do want to read and you do want to become an expert, then you can make the talent selections that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're not gonna get anything out of those advanced talent selections without a bunch of other homework and practice,
Right.
is what I'm also realizing. Because I'm, like, looking at the rotation, and the rotations have gotten sort of like the rotation guides
Hmm.
in Icy Veins have also gotten much more complicated than they ever used to be. There's
And I think that's part of having every class be viable too. It's sort of like the level of complexity makes everything possible.
and I know it also provides a fun opportunity for the experts to do their work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did find it pretty daunting to go into. It was Beast Mastery Hunter. So here it is. It's Beast Mastery Hunter, and I go to builds and talents. I know where was it? I wanted to go to rotations. So you go to rotations and cooldowns, and this is just Icy Veins, and then you get these 25 checkboxes,
Right.
and you have to checkbox all of your talents and all of the gear you might have, and then they will give you a rotation. So I was like,
The se- the secret is not to go to Icy Veins because Icy Veins is really not for the beginner that's just wanting to quit.
what's the
Wow,
place for beginners to go to?
wow head.
Wowhead. Okay, good.
I mean, but
And
even
every game,
but
every
even the
MMO out there has some nice rotation
right.
build
But
sites
even
now. So
even the DPS guides on Wowhead, DPS guides in general are going to tell you how to do it at max level with rating.
yeah,
And some of them will also have a leveling guide, and I look at those because sometimes those will have a simplified rotation. Because when you're leveling, combat is quick. You don't have
right.
to keep XYZ buff up so that ABC will proc and all that stuff. That
In fact,
basically
you don't even
you want
get
to know,
through your
yeah,
rotation,
I just
which
want to know what's the main thing that I'm hitting. What
yeah,
button do I hit? You know,
I put that I put I always center my builds around the 4 key because I use the function keys and I use the number keys. So my build is centered around the 4 key so that the things I'm hitting most often are 4 like 5, 4 and 3,
hmm hmm
and then on the function keys up above are the things that are procking often, again in priority order around the 4 key. Um, but yeah, then I try to do that in every game. Just center the build
yeah,
around the 4 key and the things that proc.
I do similar thing. Not the same keys, but I try to make like your spammable AI, AOE on the same key, your cleanse on the same key, your spammable general attack on the same key. Yeah, and
I
then proc on different keys.
and Sema always yells at me whenever I look at the tier lists, but because I because they aren't real, and they have like preview, like people playing the betas for War Within and guessing what the tier list was, and I looked at one of those on Icy Veins, and Beast Mastery Hunter was the furthest bottom possible on the list. It was 26 out of 26 of possible DPS builds, and that made me angry. But they did a good job, even in that tier list, of saying like how viable, and everything on the list was some viable. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, like it wasn't like overpowered, but it was a good build. So like they which is a hard thing to do, to like list everything. It's almost like you got to make everything kind of like horizontal, and some of them do that. It's like
Right.
everything is good. Here are a couple that are standouts. It's still hard when you stack rank them and you see yours at the very bottom of the list.
But I mean, yes, it is. I get that. It's like human nature. But it's particularly ridiculous in your case because you are never going to do the
I'm
end game
not.
content.
I'm
And
not
this
going to do
only
Mythic Plus. I'm not going to do
this,
rating.
this and this only applies to Mythic Plus and rating.
I'm only going to level through the story content and kill trash mobs out in the open world, but I want to kill them the best I possibly can. Anyway,
Which especially if you're leveling, well, whatever. But yes, in fact,
well,
I
whatever.
the whole thing about the meta is funny too, because now they've started saying that meta isn't, they're not referring to meta the word, they're referring to meta, they made up an acronym for it to be,
Oh,
which
really?
is like most effective tactic available. So like if you're playing the meta role, like on that one list you showed me at the top, it was Demo Warlock. The meta was like the most effective tactic available was to bring a demo. See, here's what's bad about the meta and all the stuff about the meta is if you're a Beast Mastery hunter, it's harder to get in groups.
Yeah.
Even though
Right.
it makes zero
Right.
difference.
Because these dumb tier lists do exist.
Right.
And
Right.
and if you're choosing between one that's like at the very top of the tier list and one that's at the bottom, because there's so many people that are like, because it's a matchmaking system and you can see who's applying to your group. Yeah, well, the ones at the top of the list are the ones you're going to pick. Why wouldn't you?
Well, and people get, well, what they see is they'll see that you're a hunter or you're a
Mhm.
demo warlock or a beast mastery hunter or whatever. But what they don't see is that you're the hunter that routinely uses, what's that shot you can use that helps manage macros and aggro? That you routinely do that, or you CC, or you pull things off the healer, versus the demo warlock who doesn't even summon someone
Who
when you
does?
ask him.
Yeah, no utility, doesn't summon, and doesn't even know their rotation.
Right. What,
And we
yeah.
find this, and you can find this in all MMOs. Someone who has the lowest, a good player who knows how to play the game and knows their rotation and utility can play the lowest tiered build and outperform the highest tiered build of people that even are mediocre at their class.
Right.
Every time. Anyway, so pre-patch, good opportunity to look at your class, tune it up, make sure you get a build, because I logged in and didn't even have talent selected. So I wouldn't want to have like day one of the new story I'm eager to play. I jump in and I can't even play because I haven't selected talents, and then I
And
gotta
even
go,
though
what is going on?
this is what's frustrating too, because even though you have agreed with me on every point, in 6 months you're gonna go, oh, it's not on the tier list, blah blah
I
blah.
will, of course I will. That, and then if I ever do get into some group content, I'm gonna look at the meters, and if I'm not, at least in the top 20% on the meter, I'm gonna be really angry and I'm gonna rage quit.
Gonna feel bad. You're gonna go, I'm such a
It's
bad
gonna feel
player.
bad because then there's some like, there's some like tank out DPSing me
Here,
because
you know what? I have something for you that will make you feel better.
do ya?
If you look at the meters and you feel like your DPS is not high enough, you just say to yourself, hey, I'm bad at this video game.
But I'm not. I'm really good.
It's just a video game. It's not
Yes. There's other video games that I'm better at.
it's not as bad as being like a bad driver.
That's true. Because then you might crash and die.
Right.
That would be a real bad day.
And you might not, like in your case, you don't put the time in to be the 1% player, so why?
In this particular game, no. Yeah, exactly.
Or
Yeah,
any-
and
or
I
anything.
get over it really quick. I'll still whine.
Yeah.
I get itchy if I don't have things to whine about as well. So I'm gonna
Itchy.
need
I do too.
I need
do too.
something to whine about. Because that's its own form of personal
Not
entertainment.
that good at this video game.
Yeah, so
I mean Don't say that to yourself if you're spending 8 hours a day playing it, because then you want to say, I want to get better at this video game.
Yeah, yeah.
You clearly have a desire.
Unless you have different goals. Unless just exploration and
Yeah,
and
pet
those kinds of
battles.
things, and crafting, and then maybe you're the best at that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one of the things that pre-patch is good at, and I like that they've provided this opportunity to also get used to some new features, because I also wouldn't want to come in and be confused in a game when a new expansion drops, because they have introduced a whole bunch of new features or moved my cheese. So fine, go ahead and move the cheese, but give me some time to get used to that, so then when the expansion hits, I'm all comfortable. So what else? What other cheese has moved with War Within that they've put in the pre-patch? I'm showing one right now. Tell me to explain the magic that they've done with mounts, because
So in Dragonflight, one of the things, which is the current X Pack, one of the things they introduced was this thing they called dragon flying, which you got a dragon mount, and it was different from normal WoW flying in that you got a bunch of buttons more as you got more talents, and you could do more things in the air, specifically so that you could increase your speed. Like right now, I know this is like a small example, but if you're on one end of Stormwind and you have to get to the other and you can dragonfly over there, it's awesome.
it's so fast. You're right.
Yes.
It is and I'm going to do it right now here. One of the things the difference between dragon flying and a regular mount. A regular mount is you're just moving in 3D space, and
Right.
you can strafe, you can hover, you stop, you press the W key, or use your mouse buttons, and you'll move forward. But you move forward at like a slightly faster than ground mount pace.
Right.
Dragon flying is momentum based. Now there's downsides to that, and this is one of the things I had to learn and remember how to dragonfly. You can see me hovering over each of the abilities that you get, because you unlock abilities for your dragon, and you get 3 like stamina bubbles that you'll consume to use
Yeah.
some of the abilities.
They're called vigor.
You because it's momentum based, you can't fly up. You can't fly like straight up in the air without expending a bunch, like all of your stamina. So I'm over here in Ice Crown, and I'm like down in the flatlands, and I need to like go up to one of the highland next zone, and I got on my dragon mount, and it's going nowhere. I'm like, what? I forgot how they worked. So, but what I found, and this is what they added into the game, they give you a button you can put on your bar. You just land back on the ground, you press that button, and you flip back over to regular mount. And like all of the flying mounts now have this ability. Even your old flying mounts now can be turned into momentum-based dragon riding.
So that right there is what's new with the pre-patch, and it's called sky riding now instead of dragon flying. And just small correction, it's not all of them. There's a few that won't do it.
My favorite mount is the Hearthstone flying horse. That one does it, as an example.
Yeah, right. That
cool.
one does. The ones that it's just a handful of ones that won't do it.
But here I am on my dragon trying to fly up, because I'm having to fly to the top of that mountain in front of me, and realizing, what the hell? I'm like, I'm crashing here. It's going nowhere, and it's really slow. So I landed on the ground. I switched back over to regular flying, flew to the top of that, which was then like about halfway of where I needed to go. And then once I was at the top, I flipped back over, and it took like 2 seconds to get to Ulduar from that top. Once I figured out how it worked again.
Some of those buttons will give you abilities to get more.
Yeah, they'll give you some elevation. They'll light up more circles.
Yeah. And even in that, what you just showed, if you would have gone straight down, you would have earned some more vigor.
Right. Get that momentum going.
So part of that is, learning how each part of it works and being able to use it to your advantage. And a recent change that came from this is that Druid Flight Form now will also use this.
Oh, that's interesting. Can you change in the air in Druid Flight Form or not?
No, you can. No, you have to land. And when you change between styles, it's for all your mounts.
Okay.
So at first I thought you could have like they call it steady flying. I thought at least you could have like a button with a mount that says SETI flying and another button with it, but because you used to have that right
Yeah.
before this, but you can't do that now. Yeah, so when you change it for all your mounts. So even like the mounts that don't do dragon flying, if you get on one of those, it'll be ground bound if you have dragon flying turned on.
Great. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was
Um,
on my Drake. I was on my dragon flying Drake with steady flying, and it actually made the Drake a little bit smaller too. It looked like
oh, interesting.
in fact, I think I do it, or maybe I just zoomed out. Maybe I wasn't looking at it correctly. Here I am. The other thing I'm glad it's giving me the opportunity to do is because I gave myself all my abilities back. I also forgot how to play the class.
Right.
And so you get an opportunity because they're asking you to do some of the lead in to also shoot some trash mobs and do a little quest, do a little questing.
Right. And it's
Which
not a
is
lot of
good.
danger because Ilaria's there.
Yeah,
You know,
and she's helping you out and
right.
that kind of thing. So
And that's
that's
one
good.
thing too about, in particular, the pre-patch event in WoW is it's another kind of good way to sort of ease back in or figure out where your buttons should go, because you're in a large group of people that are all doing the objectives and you kind of just get swept along.
Yeah, that's nice. To get swept along, get carried, and as you're doing that, get comfortable with the game again.
Right.
That's a great opportunity. So what else did they add in feature wise that I should make sure I take this opportunity to get comfortable with? Tell me about warbands because I'd heard about
Okay.
them, but I didn't see anything
So
except like a quest in my quest log maybe, right?
so over time, Blizzard has been, bit by bit adding more and more stuff that was account wide. So we already had count wide transmog, mounts and pets were account wide. Now warbands is like putting the cap on all that and making many more things like you can do across your whole account. Like you can now share gold, share items, BOE items. Nothing that's it's really opened up how you can share things among your
Yeah, that's so
group of
nice, and I
characters.
love it when MMOs do that because, I mean, that's how a lot of us play the MMOs is we got alts and we got characters,
Yeah.
and I don't want to have to redo everything on every character. And
And they've kind of gone, well, I can't compare this to Final Fantasy 14 where you play your one character does all the roles.
yes, that's an
Um,
extreme version of this. That's actually pretty interesting. Yeah,
but like for instance, if you're working on an achievement, like if it's a current and going forward style of achievement, you can contribute to it from different characters instead of having to redo it
see,
on
that's
every character.
nice. I mean, we're
S
spoiled with that in Star Wars: The Old Republic too.
Yes. But even some quests, like I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but if you log into another character and the quest comes up to do what you're doing right now, it'll have a little subtext line that says your warband has completed this quest. You can still do it if
Yeah.
you want to.
I did see a thing on the map or maybe in the quest log that said hide or don't show. Yeah, like don't show on the map quests that your warband has already completed.
And then the storage they've also over time, I want to make this point too. Blizzard has introduced all kinds of ways of helping with the inventory thing. But this
Yeah.
recent iteration is a bank tab that all of your alts can put things in and withdraw things from.
So
And that
is it just in the regular bank?
yeah,
Oh.
and it's a tab. If you open up your regular bank, it's a tab at the bottom.
Oh, I guess I just didn't see it because I
Yeah.
did go to the bank because that's another thing we'll talk about in a second. This is inventory management, but I did go to the bank and I didn't see that there. I'll have to look at that and find that. How many slots do you get that you get to share?
It's a lot,
Uh, uh,
but and you can buy more tabs, but I understand it gets very expensive.
okay, okay, because
But I
like
just want
Star Wars: The Old Republic, we got a ton in our
yeah,
legacy storage.
right. But we did have to buy them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
same.
So if you have items that are already character bound, they won't go in the warband
If they're soul
storage.
bound, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just stuff
I did
that's
notice it on the tooltip for items, some items already that were in my inventory said, this is warband bound, this is soulbound, this is unbound.
Right. And that now there's a new style too where it says warband bound until equipped or something like that.
Oh,
But you can
okay,
put
yeah,
you can put those in the warband storage and then pick them out again with another alt if that's what you want to do.
yeah.
And also currencies going forward are tradable between alts. And the UI they made for that is kind of cool because you open up your currency tab, and instead of like going to each character and sending the currency to your main, you can, or whoever you want the destination to be, you can just open up the currency tab on the one that wants it, and it will show you all your characters and how much of that currency you have, and you can just go,
Oh, that's nice.
okay, give me all your currency, give me all your currency, give me all your currency. And that's what I
Yeah.
did. That's what I did recently, and I was able to buy all the armor upgrades that are in the, just because I had already done so, I didn't realize how much currency I had. I had enough currency to upgrade my armor on my main to the end point. I mean, not the end point, the starting point really, because I think then you can do upgrades, but I'm not going to do that.
That's a really clever way to do it because
Yeah,
you you don't think about the moving the currency beforehand. You think about it when you're standing at the vendor, and then you
right.
have to like log out, go into the other character, log into 3 other characters, move currency over, log back
Right.
in.
I
Um,
was really pleasantly surprised when I saw that.
yeah, that's some designer, game designer was thinking there. That's cool.
And then they did a kind of subtle change to transmog, which is going to be really cool for collectors, which is now they made it, well, for everyone really, but now they made it so that you can get the appearance of a transmog item no matter the armor type.
That's nice too.
Yeah, so like for instance, when I was cleaning up my warrior that I was thinking about leveling, I realized that it's actually kind of cool to vendor old armor now, because even if it's, because like if it was BOE, I would feel this pressure, oh, I should send it to an enchanter and then they should disenchant it and then I should put the mats on the AH or whatever. But if you vendor them, you get the appearance and you get the gold right then.
Mhm. Yeah, that is
If you
great.
s- if you send them off, you don't get the appearance. And
That's
since
right.
and since that's since now I could just do that with every BOE item, it doesn't matter the type. I don't even have to look at it and say, "Do I want this?" I just add it to my collection, move on.
Yeah, because that is still it's even with that, they've done a good job, that it does feel better than it has in the past. But I got on my hunter here, and I opened up my inventory, and it wasn't terrible. My bank was about 50% full, and my inventory was about 30% full. So not really not bad. Some of my old characters, the reason I have this new character is, one, I wanted to play Alliance. Two, it was really refreshing to have a character with nothing on it, and it started to start an expansion when I started Dragonflight. Because my old characters I really like, and I've got like the character that I started day one of the launch. I still have that character. It's race changed and it's faction changed, but it's still my Horde Druid. That character still exists, but it's got like all this super
Mhm.
old stuff in it. Like I've got Onyxia's head sitting in my bank. Yes, I could turn it in, but I don't want to. I want Onyxia's head sitting around. But my bank is completely full. My inventory is full. And it's work. And even with this, it was work to figure out what some of that stuff is. It's
It is.
great to have the armor part taken care of, as you're saying, though.
Not only is it research, because you were doing some research for each item, it's also a decision for each item. And
Right.
decision making is an activity that, it does tire out your mind.
Yeah. It and to the point where I was potentially getting frustrated with that particular play session. I'm sitting there for a half hour reading.
Right.
Again, I was elected to lead, not to read.
And you start to think, I'll go for a walk, or in my case, I'll take a nap.
And I had, and I kept going to Wowhead, and I really loved, there was one comment. So you go into Wowhead, you look at the item, you go to Wowhead, and then you go to the comments and they tell you what it's for. And there was one of one of the top comments on one of the items said, "You have my permission to delete this item." I was like, that's what I need. I just need that as a tooltip on every item. Because some of the items are like, and I have like a whole row of items. So it was like 10 items that were like the gloop glop of Jingababob. And then the tooltip is, the centaurs of Terrace Land may be interested in this item. I'm like, okay, so what does it do? Is it going to give me rep? Or am I doing something wrong by not going and like finding who these centaurs are and not turning it in? And some of them straight up said, this will give you reputation with this particular faction. Well, gamers, they want to get their reps. Yeah, I don't want to just like throw it away.
I want to move the bar.
Right. So I had enough bank space. So some of that stuff that was obvious, I could just get rid of. I had other stuff that was actually from the pre-patch of Dragonflight that is obsolete now. And you pointed some of that out. So I had like 4 stacks of items in my inventory that were they were like some weird currency. It was like, it was redundant definitions of the things. It was a shard of blah, blah, blah. And the tooltip of the shard of blah, blah, blah was, take 4 shards of blah, blah, blah and create a
glimmer of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's like, come on, that tells me nothing at all. So that's inventory management, and almost like, I'm sure maybe there's even add-ons that would help with this. I need some magical add-on that says, show me what I should do with I'm starting a new expansion. I haven't played in a year. Show me on a tooltip. Should I save this? Should I do something with it? Or can I vendor it?
It's the same with quests, like that quest right there that you're just looking at with the purple. It's like, what do I need to go do that now because it's part of what I care about, or is it part of something I don't care about?
I had no idea. Well, I'll explain where I'm at right here in just a second, and then we can talk about story. But quest log, you're right. Just quest log alone is another thing. I had a bunch of quests that were already in my objectives thing so I like untracked a bunch of quests, but I had to like look through my quest log, and it's like, it's divided up into like zones or areas or story elements. And I had no idea if these are like old things, or is this something new that popped up that's part of the expansion. So then I got frustrated again. I'm like, I got to look up these 20 quests in my quest log and figure out what all these are for. But I think I'm okay with that. I think there's only 2 things that we need to worry about, which is following Ilaria around and doing her stuff, and then the warbands one. But here I am, going through the story, and I have no idea where I am. And we're going to debate that in just a second. But that's where I got to the end of this video. I'm in this weird rift area. Part of one thing I had to do. The first thing I had to do was close a bunch of these void rifts in this rift area. Then I come back to it, and now I have this progress bar. Defend the rift, 72%. And there's people you can click on, there's mobs you can kill, and then there's this rift in front of me, right? I'm like, oh, well, maybe I need to go close another rift. So I walk over to it. I'm like, oh, well, here's a rift. Let me try to close this rift. Boom. I'm in Stormwind with no way to get back. So I closed the game. You'll see here. This is where I like ran over to, there's like Chromie sitting over on the side. No, that's for Chromie time. There's a quest giver sitting over on that side. So you see here, after about 30 seconds of running around, realizing that I'm going to have to like...
I saw that and I thought, why did he go to Stormwind? Because I thought, how mature. He's like, he ran out of game time. He's got to go do something else now, even though he's got like only 20% left to do.
Yeah, I'm like 80% done with defending the rift. I clicked on another portal because they're there. Boom, you're in Stormwind.
Oh my gosh!
So I just sit down and the video ends.
You're
Look,
bad
because
at
there's Chromie. There's Chromie sitting up there. Okay, which then leads me to so Chromie. So tell me what's going on. I know you probably know a little bit more than me. Here's the video that I was saying that I clicked on Ilaria. So this is this the end of Dragonflight? There's a big dead dragon, and there's Chromie saying, "Sweet, we did it. Our timeline is saved." And then there's this dude. Wait, let me back up because it just showed his name, didn't it? She says, our future is secured. Ir Iridicardicadon. Hold on. Do you know who this guy is?
Mm-mm.
Iridicron.
I'm Dragonflight.
Iridicron.
I'm Dragonflight ignorant.
Okay, so Iridicron has the dark heart. See, that's like it's floating over to his hand. And this is important.
Oh, I
guess.
didn't know. That's the okay.
So there's Chromie. That's the dark heart there that just floated into his hand. And he's going to give that to Naifu, who we're going to talk about. But so this is telling me something. I still have no idea what's going on. But then now they've at least released some story trailers, and the story trailers are beautiful. I think they've sort of set up our new big antagonist for at least the puppet, who's pulling some of the puppet strings for this expansion is Xalatath. That's her name, right?
Right.
right.
Yeah, Xalatath.
So Xalatath is who we need to be prepared to be fighting against, right? And let's look up WoW Xalatath trailer. Everybody loves Xalatath now. Tell us why. Why does everybody love Xalatath, Sema?
She looks sexy, man.
Because she's hot. And that's no other reason besides that. I guess that's enough for our tiny gamer minds. Xalatath.
She doesn't look like a spider.
No.
Well, that's
talk
somebody
about
else.
spiders in a second, but
yeah.
So there's Xalatath. So Xalatath is cool. She was, we don't know exactly, but she was like she's either like one of the old gods, some form of old god, and then she was like trapped in the knife blade because she pissed the other old gods off. But she's been hanging around as a voice inside the knife blade, which was a legendary weapon for priests, right?
I think so, yeah.
For many expansions now, priests have been sort of like carrying this thing around.
Actual WoW players are going to be rolling their eyes.
Yeah, I know. But this is part of it. This is what we should be learning, and they're trying. They're doing a good job of trying to catch us up on this, but I'm still completely lost.
Yeah.
But through the trailers, and when you get back into game, they do a little bit of a catch up in a couple places, and they allow you to see some of these cutscenes that you missed and do some catch up story, which I appreciate. But still, I don't know what's going on. Except Xalatath is there. The Dark Heart is a thing, which is this item that nobody really knows what it does. Nobody knew that it's Xalatath yet. I think at the beginning of the expansion, they're calling her the Harbinger. And Alaria's trying to help us track her down in the pre-patch. So did you finish the pre-patch story with Alaria?
I did.
Right?
Well, with Alarian, and then the next part with Magni.
Did they name Xalatath by the end of that? Spoilers, I guess, for people. Spoiler warning.
Basically, Magni's story.
Her Harbinger.
I don't know. Magni's story is more about like what the heck is this Dark Heart, and I don't think they answer that question.
Okay.
Because Magni, if you remember, is he's been turned into a crystal dwarf, right? Like and he's bitter about that.
Azeroth cries out.
Yeah, right now, he's kind of pissed off at Azeroth because he did all this stuff for her in battle for Azeroth to save her, and now she just left him as a crystal dwarf, and she's off doing whatever she's doing. So, like, we come to Magni because we're like, we needed to find out what this Dark Heart is. Will you help us? And he's like, I'm not interested. And then he says, because I'm not interested in Azeroth because she left me this way. And then he finds out that and the we here is you, the player, Jaina, Thrall, and some other obvious person that I forget about. And he says, okay, I'll help you, but I'm helping you, not her.
Huh. Wow, he really got bitter there,
Yeah.
angry.
And then, but then the main point of that story seems to be his family getting back together because he tries to talk to Azeroth and it puts him in like a coma. Not a coma, but it knocks him back and he goes, ooh. So they have to put him in bed. And then his daughter, who is Moira, who's the Dark Iron, is at his bedside and she's talking about their sort of colored history. And then she has a son, but I guess Magni killed her husband. And the son, so there's this touching scene between her and Bran, who's her son's uncle, Bran Bronzebeard, and they all are there at his bedside, and they're like, "We love each other. We're family now." And
Yeah.
then that's kind of it.
Okay.
It was touching, though. I'm kind of
Well,
it
yeah,
sounded like I was
there's some
making
nice
fun
stuff
of
going
it,
on.
but it was
This was actually 5 years ago. So this was at the end of the expansion with N'Zoth. That was the first half of Shadowlands, right? Or is
I
that
don't know.
before Shadowlands? That's before Shadowlands. So this was like towards the end of the whatever the expansion was before
Battle
Shadowlands.
for Azeroth,
Battle
yeah.
for Azeroth. Yeah. So the Xal'atath actually gets released from the weapon by N'Zoth and exits through a void portal at the end of towards the second half of Battle for Azeroth, and then the players kill N'Zoth after that. But she exits stage left. She's kind of not around for most of Dragonflight, although I think by the end some whisperings started, and now she's revealed herself to some people. She's now known as the Harbinger. She's been, we had that dragon dude talk about the Harbinger, and now we've also got a couple other cutscenes. So let's get to Nosegate because we're breaking story.
I mean, just one of the things I admire about Blizzard storytelling is they are willing to put these seeds that are not going to come to fruition for years.
Or pick up a thread that they left and weave it
Yeah.
in a really good and compelling way. I mean, I don't know. Xal'atath is looking like she's going to be an interesting puppet master, big bad to some degree.
I have difficulty thinking of her as a big bad when she was my little dagger for so long.
Yeah. Plus,
I mean that
we'll see.
I'm
We'll
sure
see.
that will change.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll see where it goes. I'm
Oh,
not.
I definitely think that's just a Sema thing.
Well, I gotta see what her motivations are, because she's also got she wants to maybe release the void, or she serves another the void. There's like another master of hers, or master of all of the old gods. I forgot, he's got a name, mega void man, and they want to voiditize Azeroth. Maybe that's what her goal is. So we got to find out what her motivation is. We got this little Threads of Destiny trailer yesterday, and it's one of those trailers I like when they do this, and I know they can do these more quickly than a regular trailer. It's art boards that they'll do in layers, and then between parallax and movement and a little bit of animation on an artboard, create a trailer out of it, and then put voice on top of it. Well, this one tells the story of someone who I bet is going to be a setup for the first raid boss of the expansion. So again, spoilery if you haven't watched this trailer yet, but it's the Nerubians, right?
Right.
And I thought this is a little bit of a trope, a typical trope, but that's fine. I mean, tropes are tropes for a reason, because they kind of work. Oh, so this is it. Oh no, they don't tell about what Xal'atath did as part of this, but they show how the queen of the Nerubians defied N'Zoth and said, "No, we're not going to follow you." Then that was still back in the Battle for Azeroth days, and in doing that, that was a bold move and set them up as redeemed in some way as a race. However, they've declined over time because they didn't accept that power. They didn't make a deal with the devil. They've declined, and now they're sort of in a state of decay as a race. The queen's daughter says, what are you going to do about this? Why are you letting our people decline like this? You're not bold enough. We're not moving forward. And the queen is like, we can't do this kind of thing. We need to endure. And then the queen gets approached in her mind through a vision or whatever by Xalatath. And Xalatath basically offers her a deal with the devil to gain power and elevate her people again. And the queen again declines it. And the daughter goes, why'd you decline it? Because we must endure. And then the daughter goes, yeah, well, I don't like that. Kills the queen. And that's the trope. It's the heir to the throne, the king, the ruler's not doing it right. So the heir kills the ruler, accepts the deal with the dark forces, and now she's under the thumb of Xalatath, going to be doing Xalatath's bidding, and ultimately, I think this will then be a proxy for us to be able to go fight and kill early in the expansion and not have to go and kill Xalatath as like the first thing we do. Because then they can save Xalatath for other things. And maybe even through the expansion, because remember, this is a 3-part expansion.
Right.
But what did you find for us as we watched this expansion, this trailer, this 4-minute trailer?
I wondered why the daughter, who has the spider face, after she accepts the power from Xalatath, she has a beautiful face now.
Yes. So if you were watching closely, right here at 4:20, we get the closing scene at 4:25, 4:26 of the daughter. So that's the daughter right there, right? So here's spider-faced daughter. She's got fangs coming out of the sides of her cheekbones. She's got no nose. And then 5 seconds later, fade to black, she comes back and she's got pretty face. Her thorn things coming out of her cheekbones are gone. She's grown a nose. Where the hell did that nose come from?
It came from Xalatath, apparently.
Xalatath like reforming. That's not even Xalatath's real body. So Xalatath is now reforming her minions in this form that she's got to like sexy up her minions apparently. And again, make them attractive to humans apparently, because it's not, I mean, like Nerubians wouldn't think that this is attractive. Because like, why did you grow that weird tumor in the middle of your face?
Right.
So that's nosegate. It's freaking me out. It's wrong. What are you doing? Where did that nose come from? So that's
why
dubbed
I
this nosegate.
posed this question in one of the Discords I'm in. It's like, how come she's suddenly blah blah blah, and a bunch of answers came back, including one where someone said that the top comment on the video was somebody saying, "Gotta love how infusing themselves with blood of the old gods just turns them handsome."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, Cyric caught that for me.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, basically, got to make them sexy, but like you say, but sexy to humans.
Right. Yeah, sexy to the player, but
right.
Nothing to do with their race or in-game lore or anything that makes sense to anyone from the context of the narrative, but sexy to the player. Whatevs. Okay, see what you did there. Because now, are we supposed to now try like identify with her because she's hot? She's still got 8 appendages and 6 eyes, but she's got that night elf face, and Xalatath you got that super hot look going on right now. I don't know. I guess there's going to be like people cosplaying as her, and it's going to be like a big thing, and everybody's going to think like Xalatath is the best and Team Xalatath and all of that. But why can't you just make them
alien?
Alien.
Just stay alien, yeah.
Yeah, because they are. We're supposed to. They're like these alien outside void, old god, weird tentacle forces, horrors invading our world. But nope, they got to be sexy too. So anyway, that's nosegate. So if you see us post on Nosegate, upvote it on the social networks because we're breaking the news about Nosegate. All right.
Another comment, like, imagine you're thinking you're a new powerful queen now, but really you're only the first raid boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Your days are numbered.
Yeah. And we sort of glossed over the term naifu instead of
Yes.
waifu because she's a knife. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So we've got
yeah.
that as well. She's the new naifu. All right. Well, that's a good rundown. And I think that's a good summary of and kind of painting the picture of what a pre-patch is and does. And it's doing some of this story stuff. It's trying to catch us up in the story. I'm still lost. I have no idea. In fact, I didn't even know where I was or what I was doing still halfway through this stuff with Ilaria, but that's okay. They're catching us up a little bit through that, giving us time to maybe consume some of this meta media as well, like the trailers, and there's a bunch of videos out there that are like catching you up in the story. I'm going to do some of that. This is another good period in reminding the players that maybe want to do that so you're not completely lost from a narrative perspective when the story starts as well.
Right, because every game is more interesting if you know what's going on around you.
Yeah, because
Like
there is a story.
I'm a big offender of like spacebar through stuff, and it does over time. If you keep doing it, it makes things more tedious, not less tedious.
Yeah, right. Because then you're just grinding trash mobs
Right.
in random places where you don't know where or why, and it takes the context away, and it's not as fun. Okay, Sema. Well, as we wrap up the last couple of minutes, I was going to ask, what are you doing next week? But we missed the opportunity to do the shout out. What did we do last week in Star Wars: The Old Republic?
Oh my gosh. We won our Total Galactic War, Total Galactic War, which was a lot of work. I mean, fun work. It was a lot of gaming.
Yeah, so explain Total Galactic War to people that don't play Star Wars: The Old Republic.
In Star Wars, there's a chance every week to conquer a planet. But there's very little chance in reality because there's only 3 planets up for grabs, and there's a few guilds that really concentrate on this, and so they're the ones that win those 3. But then a couple of times a year, all the planets in this little galaxy we play in are up for grabs. So smaller guilds like ours have a chance just because, there's more planets. And when that happens, it's like an all hands on deck kind of situation.
Because everybody in the guild can sort of participate. It's sort of like
Yes.
guild point total, but anybody doing almost a huge plethora of activities can contribute. So everybody can have a chance to like feel like they're making a difference. I'm doing my part.
That's right. Everything you do, it gains points for the guild to make this target. And this was, what, as it happens very often, we were in a battle with one of it ended up to be between us and this one other guild on the planet that we invaded, which was a planet. Well, it's not really a planet, but it was an area called Section X, part of a planet. And so it was like every day it was like they would gain some, and then we would widen the margin, and then they would gain some, and then they would widen the margin, and then on the last day they gained some and they surpassed us. And then that night we had to like not only widen the margin, we had to create the margin again and then widen it. And then at some point you have to just go to bed though and trust that it's going to be fine until in the morning, which it was.
Yeah, but
based on
you
everybody,
alarm clocked, didn't you? And I did as well.
I did. Yeah.
You alarm clock got up at 6:30 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Logged into the game to check because the cutoff was 7 a.m. because there was some last minute stuff we could do.
Right.
I set my alarm for 5:30 Central where I'm at, and actually I cheated a bit. I set my alarm for 5:40 a.m. because I knew Sema would get up and post in Discord, which she did. So then I got up at 5:40. I turned over, looked at my phone, looked at Discord. Sema posted the point totals, and I posted, good job, everybody. And I went back to sleep.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I did not log in. I appreciated your effort, and took advantage of that. But if I hadn't seen
Yeah,
that, or it had said we've got a gap, I would have gotten up
right.
and done something
And
about
like
it.
Forrester and Stas point out, I was by far the only one. We had 6 or 7 people that
Yeah,
did that.
yeah. Everybody was concerned and checking. So I hope this week you're going to take a rest and not be grinding for tens of hours in Star Wars: The Old Republic. What are you
I
What are you doing this week?
Well, I am. Well, we did play MFN last night in Star Wars: The
Yep,
Old Republic. The
a
point
little
of that was
celebration
a
party.
little celebration. We go down to section X, and we see the banner that says that we conquered it, and we give out gifts, and people can choose gifts from the guild bank. That we have gift tabs in there. Um, and I think we're going to have an ops night this week. But yes, I'm definitely taking a little bit respite from the sort of relentless drive. Although it was a lot of fun. I got to play. We played a lot of Uprisings, which is not really my favorite kind of content, but it was fun to be doing it with different groups of people all week long. And I did get over some of my reluctance to do Uprisings. Was kind of burned out of me.
Yeah, but group
um,
content with our fun groups, with our fun
yeah.
people is fun. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be the worst content in the game.
But I am, now that I spent like the week doing mostly Star Wars, I am going to spend some time in WoW this week, and our raid team in WoW is going to go play Guild Wars 2 tonight. So
Really?
before the podcast today, I downloaded Guild Wars 2, and I had no trouble logging into my old account, unlike Final Fantasy, which completely prevented me from not only logging into my old account but from making a new one.
That's interesting. So is this just like a one-time thing?
Yeah, because it's free, and
Yeah,
I don't know what we're gonna do, but I am confident that Shrimp has a plan.
that
And
is that is fun and
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's a one-time thing. It's sort of like, why not just do one-off fun things right now, because we don't have the pressure of having to level. We're not
Yeah,
trying to like gear up. We don't have to be watching videos about raid fights. So
yeah.
it's our relaxo time.
That's a good call
And
for game groups to
yeah,
take that opportunity to go do something crazy. Maybe we should make
and
our SWOTOR team take a quick break before the update comes out, because once the update comes out, remember we got Twitch drops that are going to come out as soon as 7.5.1 drops in a couple weeks. That maybe our Thursday night team needs to be in SWOTOR, and we'll do Twitch drops on our SWOTOR nights.
oh, great idea. Gosh, I was like thinking, yeah, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so that's cool. Well, that's a great, and Shrimp is the guy with the plan,
Yeah.
always, which is awesome.
Yes.
So that's fun to have
Yes.
a raid leader that shakes it
Yeah.
up like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, last week during this time slot, or maybe it was on Saturday, I forget, but we played bingo, which is, he found this app that makes a bingo card of various like activities you can do in WoW. Like one was click on a summoning stone on a dungeon in Pandaria. That would be an example. Or talk to each of the leaders of your faction, or open up a dialogue with Thrall. And it was kind of interesting, or your war chief. It was kind of interesting because of us all there, we didn't all have the same war chief.
ah,
And like we were going, all of us had not played retail, and not all of us, some of us had not played retail in so long. We're like, who's the war chief? Where do we go?
yeah,
And in the case of my character, which I didn't realize until long after the game was over, because I did not come close to winning, but my war chief was still Sylvanas.
interesting. This is like
And
we run into that in Star Wars: The Old Republic, because
right,
there's choices that
exactly.
matter, and everybody could be caught up and have different emperors of the Sith Empire.
Yeah, if I would have realized that, I could have just walked, 10 feet over, and I could have clicked on her, and that I would have put an X through that one.
Yeah.
But the people who wanted that game were the ones that had not only a bunch of like various teleport items that they'd garnered over the years, but that they knew they had them.
Yeah,
and they
right.
were accessible.
Yeah,
Like
you knew how
I
to
knew
make use of them. I used
I
to
knew
know that. I don't anymore.
I knew I have that amulet that gets you a teleport to Black Temple, but not only could I not remember what it's called, so I couldn't search for it, I didn't know which character I had it on.
Yeah.
Um,
I have a
and we didn't
thing
have
that
to go to
gets
the
me to the Argent
Black Temple.
tournament. I have,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, to
But it,
getting to Tenaris so that you could get to the temp sands of. Anyway, there's a bunch of those quick travel tricks from the old days.
but yeah. So
Cool. Well,
yeah,
yeah, that's fun.
so just downloading Guild Wars 2 reminded me how much I like the artwork of that game, which I've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it went smoothly because I was kind of worried.
Well, now you'll get a taste of it. You'll see if you wanted to check out the expansion that's dropping in 2 weeks. That was up in our
That's right.
news.
That is good timing.
Yeah. We'll probably do stuff in SWOTOR this week. I will probably, it's weird. Every time we do a podcast on a topic, it makes me want to do that game. So I'll probably continue my little journey here in the pre-patch for WoW and continue the story and talk to Magni and get my character rest of the way set up and ready to go. But I've got a few other games that are still calling my name. I do want to get through a little bit more of Starfield, so maybe I'll talk a little bit about that next week. I still have my eye on Fallout 76. I've been annoyed by a couple bugs in there, so I haven't actually been playing it or logging in at all. But they'll fix those, and then it'll be easier to get back in there. Yeah, I sort of fell off of Once Human, but maybe a little bit more in there. There's a lot of fun things to play, and then sort of ease my way through the rest of the month until we get SWOTOR 7.5.1 and Star Wars Outlaws. Okay, I think that is it for today. All the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com and our videos on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord, newoverlords.com/Discord. I actually posted a brilliant game design idea in there you could go check out today on how to, you ever get in a pug and there's the one person that gets in there, just this has no idea, hasn't prepared at all, and is like has no gear and they're naked. That can be frustrating for people that are trying to like get something, on like hard content, get something done. I have a solution for that. I designed a solution for that. So you can find that in our Discord in the general channel. You can also follow us on all the social networks. We'll keep you up to date there too on when the podcast is going live. Geez, I did not put any of those out today. I don't think I did. That's okay. You'll see when the podcast gets published tomorrow. With that, we will talk to you soon. We will talk to you soon. With that.
Oh, later, everyone. I don't know why I muted myself, but I did.
Later, everyone.